Politics.
You're dressed all spiffy.
Yeah, I look nice, don't I?
Right.
Thanks.
For politics.
I like your get up there is pretty nice too. Okay, so politics. We've had actually a couple of people request to hear our ideas on politics. And I think we feel the same way everyone else does about politics is you don't want to talk about politics with your friends because you want them to be your friends at the end of the day. But there's a problem with this, right?
Yes, there is a problem with this. If we don't talk about it, then we're not really involved in it. We don't really understand it, and we're not really sharing the important ideas among each other to get things changed that we don't like.
So here's the deal with politics. The biggest problem with politics is the people who are running the politics. Mm-hmm. The politics. And what does that even mean? Basically, it's the people who are running the government. Politics is basically referencing the manipulators of who becomes the people that are running the government.
Right. Are you talking about like a shadow government sort of thing?
No, just like, what? No, I don't mean that. I mean like the actual people. The manipulators would be like, the campaign runners and the actual politicians. They're the ones that are deciding who is. Yeah, they're deciding that they themselves will be the ones that are.
Gotcha.
So it's like that's what politics are. Government itself is ran by politicians.
Right.
So the problem is these people that are running our government just aren't all great people.
Right.
There are some governments in the world that have had decent politicians as their...
Yeah, and we've had some great people in political power over the years, but it definitely doesn't mean that they all are. I would say that it definitely doesn't mean that the majority of them are.
Yeah. So what happens is you have policies that you agree with, like the environmental policies. Let's go with that one.
Okay.
You like a certain thing. You have this idea about how the environment needs to be protected or not protected, or regulated or not regulated. Okay. And you happen to agree with either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party in America, and there's plenty of other parties as well.
Right.
But
most places have a pretty close two-party system.
Right. So you end up now saying, okay, I agree with this. This is what I like. This is what I want done. So then you've got somebody in power in that political party, and now you're kind of associated with that person.
Right.
Now a Republican or the opposite side of the party comes, and they're like, that guy's a total idiot. And it's like calling you an idiot.
Right.
So.
Yeah. What has been done, and I believe that this is probably done on purpose by whoever kind of started this whole thing.
It's a part of the whole system, yeah.
Yeah, is this two-party deal where Party A encompasses all of this stuff. Party B encompasses all of these opposite things. They cannot coexist and they cannot get along. Mm-hmm. And really, this is only pretty recent.
I mean, no. The most heated political debate in history was between John Adams and Jefferson. Okay. Is that right? John Adams. Yeah, John Adams and Jefferson in their, I think, John Adams' second election.
Okay.
It was one of the most dirty, heated debate, runs for presidency in American history.
So maybe then it comes and goes.
It started really right then. The second part,
makes a lot of sense.
That whole bipartisan thing.
Okay. Well, okay, good. Either way, it's kind of set up in such a way that the two cannot work together. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson
didn't like each other for
a while, but they still were able to work together, and they reconciled their.
Yeah, they for a little bit though. It was pretty like we can't be friends, and they didn't talk to each other for at least 10 years.
But that didn't. While that happened there in their own.
But it was for the same reasons.
It was for the same reasons.
It was for the problem that happened.
Well, Yeah, sure. I mean, around the politics of the issue, but I'm talking a little deeper than that.
Okay.
Like, it's not just a couple people in Washington that are like this. It's like the entire country is split down the middle. And if you're a conservative and I'm a liberal, we can't talk politics because we won't be friends after that.
Right.
And that is relatively new.
Right. That's
what I'm.
That has happened before. When we'll talk about like the Civil War. That's what led up to the Civil War. So it has happened before, and it happens time and time. But in our lifespan right now, the difference between Democrats and Republicans is huge, and I would say the difference between Republicans and Democrats isn't really huge.
Right.
I think
it's perceived to be huge.
Yeah. So that's what we want to really get into really right here.
At. Exactly.
When here's another thing that's happening with politics. As soon as you hear the word politics or you hear the idea of politics is going to come up, you kind of want to get out of the room as soon as possible because nobody wants to talk about that.
Right.
Nobody wants to get in these heated debates. Nobody wants to have this argument. The uncle that comes over for Thanksgiving is like the icon of the opposite party of your choice. And they're the devil, basically, and they're ruining your family. Right? I mean...
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of American culture.
Yeah, it's kind of the stereotypical idea. And does it have to be like that? Do we have to be at each other's throats about politics? In a lot of ways, we have similar goals. I won't say that's across the board, but sometimes I'll talk to somebody and we'll be agreeing on so many different things, and then it comes down to what political party are you a part of, and we're opposite.
Right.
And we have the same reasons for being opposite. It's so strange. It's like, well, the little guy's getting beaten down, so I am X. The little guy's getting beaten down, so I am Y.
Yeah. I think it comes down to, and this is something too, is like we want to, I don't think we don't want to talk about politics.
Right. I think we do want to talk about politics, and I think it's good to.
Right. So, but we still have that emotion, like I don't want to talk about politics.
Right.
But at the same time, you want to be involved in your government. You want to be involved in these things that you feel passionate about, but you don't want to be part of the political debate.
Fight.
Thing.
Yeah, if it was simply a debate, that would be all right. But it's not a debate anymore. It's just a fight. It's a brawl. And I think that's where it becomes an issue.
So the exciting thing is, I really feel like there are more of us that want to actually have discussions and conversations and debates and stuff like that aren't necessarily, well, maybe we are Republican or Democrat. Maybe we do have a position that we possess, but we're not closed-minded.
Right.
Right? I mean, I'm very, very open to the opposite side, and I want to hear what other people have to say because,
absolutely.
Like you said, like I've had discussions on like, well, I want to help people and I want human rights and stuff like that. Well, the other side doesn't want to oppress people and take away human rights.
Right. When you start talking like that, then brains shut off.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, well, you're calling me a crook and a criminal and I hate children. Well, my brain is no longer functioning in a way where it's going to let anything you say into it. So we might as well stop talking.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing that breaks it down.
So what's happening? What's happening is the Democrats and the Republicans realize that if people actually had conversations, they would not say, go to the voting pool and say, vote straight Republican.
Right. They would lose the control.
So they want to have us polarized. Mm-hmm. They would rather be us polarized to the opposite party than to be in between and have everybody be in between, because then there's no control.
Think of Divergent. If you've read that book, I really feel like that's a book kind of trying to bring this truth to light in a subtle way.
I haven't read it.
Okay, so basically, spoiler alert, skip ahead if you don't want to know this, but basically, Divergent is there's these different factions. It's been set up this way on purpose, and you take a test, a coming of age sort of thing, and they pick which faction you go into based on your test. If you are a person who does not fit into one of these factions well, if you fall somewhere in between, they call you divergent, and they kill you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually happened in our politics. well, I think it was in the last election between Romney and Obama.
Mm-hmm.
If you were an independent voter, you were an idiot. Like, I was an independent voter in the last election, and everybody that I worked with was just like, whatever, you know the debate, you know who stands on which side, just pick a side. Don't be this flaky dude that is saying whatever and you're not going to vote or whatever like that. It was just like, it was very, very alienating to not be a part of either the left or the right side. And it was weird. It was like, just pick a side. And then they would be okay with me. But me not having a side really offended them.
Yeah, but that's where we need to be, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe you believe everything the Democrat Party has as their official dogma. Maybe you believe everything that the Republican Party has as their official dogma. That's fine. But believe it for it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't just take one thing because you agree with another. You know, I had a friend who was gay, and we were talking about, you know, various political issues, and we kind of got down to fiscal issues, and he kind of took this certain stance, and I was like, all right, well, let's think about that a little bit. And, you know, we kind of dived into it, and he's like, well, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, you know?
Yeah.
And then past the point, you know, he decided that he was more fiscally conservative.
Right.
But he had kind of taken this belief that he had been issued, I'd venture to say, and he hadn't really questioned it. So
yeah,
I mean,
and it's not like you guys agreed on anything else either. It's like and it's okay not to agree on these things,
right.
But you would have never had the discussion if both of you guys weren't open-minded people.
Right. You just talk. People are nice people.
Yeah.
You know, I was having a discussion with somebody on Facebook, and it was starting to turn stupid, and it was about guns, and, you know, I stopped. I looked at the guy's Facebook profile. The guy was, you know, he's a father. He has kids. He spends a lot of time with his kids. All his pictures of him and his family, you know, just looked like a really good guy. So I told him, hey, you know, I don't want to talk about this anymore. You seem like a great guy. You seem like a great dad. There's aspects to both of our arguments that are correct, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drop it.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that. He wanted to argue, but
that's the thing, though. We cannot be the defendant of our party. Right. Yes, we want our parties to be elected so that we can get the things that we believe in, but as long as that's our objective, to get our party elected so that we can get what we want,
it's dangerous.
We will never get what we want because our party will always use that against us.
Mm-hmm.
We have to shout about the things that we actually want, what we really want, and we have to make a fuss about it because guess what? In the end, your party will betray you if the other side is yelling about the policies louder.
That's true.
Or the other party will betray their party to do the things that really matter. Mm-hmm. It will happen. Like, you know, healthcare, the way healthcare is going, if I'm not necessarily excited about it, but the people have said this is what we want, and Republicans have switched sides to also agree with that side that was being louder to get those things passed. Now, there's some other issues with that too, and there were some weird things that happened, but generally, that's what happens. Whoever's the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
That's true.
And so if you're just squeaking for your party, then yeah, your party's going to get the election, but that's not necessarily what you want.
The people architecting those positions of power are going to be the ones to profit from it. So be an independent thinker. That's what we're all about. That's what we want to help you, or that's what we want to encourage you guys to be all about.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to politics. Politics are a big deal. Don't be afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
Just don't be a jerk when you talk about it, and I bet you $10 you're going to have some good conversations.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So, okay, if you guys like this, we might actually start talking about actual positions and stuff like that in the future. If you want to hear a certain position from us, you know, let us know what you want to hear about, and we'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, we don't mind.
And thank you. And I hope we didn't. I hope we were abrasive enough. I hope we weren't too flaky on this one.
Right.
So, anyway.
Hope we ruffled some feathers. That's all right.
Yeah. I don't know how we would. We're pretty nice.
Yeah. I don't mind being a little mean sometimes.
I thought you were great. You're great, Joel.